All right, now that we have our assets organized, it's time to use what in my view is one of the coolest tools in all of Unity. Right click in your hierarchy, go 3D object, and choose terrain. This tool might actually make your computer a little bit laggy and slow. You might notice in the bottom of the screen, auto-generate lighting baking. This means that the scene's trying to figure out the way that the renderer is going to make the lighting work because this is a pretty big surface and it's actually a complex object that has a bunch of specialized functionality. What I always like to do after it's created is to double check that its position set to 0, 0, 0. Looks like ours is set up properly. And now, with it selected, I'm going to take a look at my inspector and see what types of options we have to work with. Notice that terrain has some sub-menu options here. And if I click on create neighboring terrain, it's going to let me click on the screen to make neighboring terrains nice and easily. We're not going to worry about that tool for now. What we're really looking for is this paint terrain tool. And under this submenu, we have a few options. Later on, we're going to talk about texturing and other options potentially. But right now, we just want to look at raise or lower terrain. Left click to raise, hold shift and left click to lower. We have some different brush templates. And you'll get a better sense of what these are used for as you play around with it yourself. And then we have brush size, which does as it says, and opacity, which means how quickly does it apply the effect. I'm going to crank this down a little bit just to be slow at first, and we'll watch the magic happen. Let's make the brush size a bit bigger. And what this tool can do is as I click and drag, it's actually going to terraform the surface and make terrain. Maybe you want a shape that's less circular. Maybe I'll choose this brush that's like a little bit of a kind of a cooler texture to it. I'm going to turn the opacity up, and with it, I'm going to make this kind of more, I don't know, volcanic style. I'm not sure what you would call this. I know the lighting's being changed as it goes along. It's going to take a little while to make all this happen. But as I'm making it, I can zoom in and start to get a sense of the landscape that I'm making. And so you can now play with some of these different settings and actually play like a god and terraform the surface of this basic tool, but it works really nicely, just the way that you see it there. One more thing that we can look at before we move away from this tutorial is the terrain settings. It's a nice spot to go to change the sizes for the width and length. Maybe I want it to be half the size, half the size. Notice that it keeps the shaping that I've already done. It just kind of squishes it when I change the size down. So I have some options here. I can also even turn the resolution down if you find that it's a little bit too loud. You can half this number or quarter this number so that it's a little bit less stressful on your computer. That's it for this tutorial, actually. See you in the next one.